Just a disclaimer, requested reviews are going to contain less spoilers than my Animorph reviews, and I'm making an effort not to give away endings. But these reviews still contain plot points, so you've been officially warned. Also, I won't give scores at the end of these reviews, instead simply recommending or not recommending. Among the Hidden, written by Margaret Peterson Haddix and published in 1998 by Aladdin Paperback, tells the story of a 12-year-old boy named Luke, living in secret in his family's attic. You see, in the not-too-distant future, there was some unexplained disaster that caused a massive worldwide famine. This, combined with progressive overpopulation, results in the government, and no, the book never specifies which government, in creating a Population Control Act, stating that it is illegal for families to have more than 2 children. After the second child is born, a woman is forced to be sterilized, and any third child born are searched for by the population police. Luke is, of course, a third child, a result of botched sterilization. He lives with his parents and his brothers, Matthew and Mark, on their farm where they grow corn and raise pigs. Because of the seclusion of the farm, Jake has been able to wander around outside, help out with the farm work, and explore the nearby woods. However, things take a turn for the shit when the government buys out the surrounding land for development, cutting down the forest and building a bunch of surrounding mansions for rich people called barons. The book opens with development just starting, and Luke is forced to hide in the attic, away from windows, with only his books to occupy him when his family is off to work and school. And this is more or less the first half of the book, and it's kind of hard to read. Partially because it's over 50 pages of reality just beating the shit out of this kid's morale, and that's no fun. And partially because I really came to hate Luke's family. As of this video, I have no plans to have children. And I don't mean wait till I'm older to have children. I mean never have children. The reason for this is that I believe that having children is inherently selfish. That 99% of the time it is done for the self-satisfaction of the parents without really thinking about the livelihood of the children. If you cannot give everything possible to a child, you really shouldn't be having children at all. And it's even worse in an extreme situation as described in this book. Imagine there was a deadly plague, and newborns and infants were especially vulnerable to it. Would you really have a child during this time? And if so, why? I can't imagine there'd be any real reason to produce someone that's probably going to die a horrible death early in life, except for your own personal satisfaction. Same goes for the family in this book producing Luke. They know full well that if hint ever got out of Luke's existence, that he would be taken away and probably murdered, and yet they went ahead with the pregnancy anyway, and Luke has to have a shitty life because of the selfishness of his parents. And they don't do anything serious to give Luke the most comfortable life possible. They should be pampering this kid, but they instead stick him in the attic with only a handful of books and some hand-me-down toys. At the very least, they could keep his reading material fresh. There's no way the nondescript government banned libraries, because later we see the internet is still around and they don't seem to be cracking down on anti-government propaganda. So what the hell? Get a library card and give this kid something new to read while he rots in the attic like the Bart Simpson twin brother from that one Treehouse of Horror. It's not that Luke's family are bad people per se, it's that they are incredibly stupid and not making the fullest effort, and that makes for a frustrating first half of the book. The government, and I should point out that the word government is spelled with a capital G throughout the book, continues to make life a living hell for Luke's family, first taking away their pig stock, and then writing a cease and desist when Luke's father looks into hydroponics, because drugs and stuff. Luke takes up the habit of watching his neighbors through some vents in the roof, and one day accidentally spies a third child in one of the mansions owned by a couple who already have 2 children. Realizing he has to meet this person, he escapes the attic and makes his way to the mansion, where he meets a girl named Jen, who is indeed a third child, and let me tell you, when Jen enters the story, things really pick up. With a new character, we can finally have dialogue, and with dialogue, we can finally learn more about the world this book inhabits. Jen's father works for the government, which gives Jen more leniency and protection from the population police than Luke. She's using the internet to contact other third children, and they plan to gather in the capital for a mass protest. Jen is a fun, spunky character that really lightens the mood of the book without diminishing the seriousness of the situation. Until the last 10 pages or so, the second half of the book is Luke going back and forth to talk to Jen. I should point out that this book is part of a series of 7 books known as the Shadow Children sequence, and the whole thing plays out less like an individual book as it does the first fifth of a longer novel. That means some awkward pacing, a sudden twist, and a character introduction at the very end that results not so much in a cliffhanger, more of a non-ending. The book doesn't really have much in the way of themes. It's more so a laundry list of bad things the government could do, and some might find the book a bit paranoid, but as a proclaimed anarchist, I don't. Especially in the wake of things like the family planning policy China introduced in 1978. However, this book doesn't offer much in the way of motivation and reasoning behind the government's actions, even after Jen enters the story to explain some of these things, and even then, it's implied at the end of the book that the information Jen had was inaccurate. So it's kind of hard to simply say, statism bad, when you can't even define your terms. The book really could have done with some proper themes. The reason Animorphs is as good as it is because it deals with universal human themes, like war and slavery, rather than dwelling in political agenda like this book. The themes covered in Animorphs are both timeless and can be approached by people of almost any age, which is why they're still great reading, even after I've grown out of the age of the target audience. This dumbed-down for children anti-government propaganda offers me, a 20-something member of the workforce, nothing. It's Sesame Street anarchism, which I guess is fine if you're at a Sesame Street level. I'm just not. Another criticism, though this one is a bit more nitpicky, is that, by my math, this book is taking place no earlier than 2016, and yet the world has 1998 technology. Maybe the author just isn't good at predicting the advancements of science and technology, or maybe there's an in-story reason for this, but when some old-school 90s internet popped up in a story that's taking place 2 decades into the 21st century, I found it amusing. I know, I probably shouldn't judge these kind of plot things until I've read the other 6 books in the series, but after I finished this book, I felt no compulsion to read any of the others. There's not a strong enough hook to drag me into book number 2. I think it's safe to say that I'm not the target audience for this, at least not anymore. It's not a badly written book. The prose flows well. It's just really depressing for the first half, and beyond that offers too little for someone like me. If you're in the 8 to 12 age range, I guess I recommend Among the Hidden as Richard Scarry's Anarchist Cookbook. But if you're beyond that age, this book doesn't offer much in the way of deep thoughts or narrative drive. If you're still interested in the book, it clocks in at 150 pages, so it's not a long read by any stretch. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to put on a Guy Fawkes mask and run around like a retard.